Hey everyone, this is day 5 of the Interesting Point of View Challenge. And I hope you've been enjoying the last 4 days, getting some awareness around the Interesting Point of View tool. And today I just want to look at being interesting point of view with different emotions that come up. It's a little piece in the Interesting Point of View chapter in the 10 Keys to Total Freedom, where a participant asked about having anger. And Gary talked about when you have different emotions come up, you want to try this. And this actually happened for me last night, where I had a lot of kind of sadness come up and all these feelings and emotions. And I actually used this tool, this piece that he has written in this book, and it actually really helped me. So when you have this thing come up, get whatever it is. So say I have this emotion. What would make this an interesting point of view? I have this anger. What would make this an interesting point of view? I have this sadness. What would make this an interesting point of view right now? I have this judgment. What would make this an interesting point of view? I have this frustration. What would make this an interesting point of view? So when you do that, you actually start to recognize that the thoughts, feelings, emotions, sex or no sex, are just points of views that you create from. They're the things that you've invented, things that you've tried to create from. They've nothing to do with real choice. And it's so funny, you think that, you need to feel these things and you need to process your emotions, but does it ever get you anywhere? And that was one of the real draws for me to Access, is because I used to spend days, weeks, like crying, going through all these emotions, and I never got anywhere. It never created an ease. It never created a choice for me. It never actually created a different reality for me. And last night I was in the middle of all this emotional stuff, and I knew it wasn't mine as well, right? I was also very aware of someone else. But all that stuff was there, and I just got present with it. Okay, I feel sad. What would make this an interesting point of view? I feel upset right now. What would make this an interesting point of view? And it really started to change it. It just changed. So what if it could be that easy? What if change could be that easy? What if we didn't have to feed our emotions, and the invented emotions as well? They're not even our emotions, they're invented. They're like just floating around all the time looking for a target. I'm also a Right Recovery for You facilitator, and one of the things we talk about addiction is just an energy looking for a target. It's the same with thoughts, feelings, and emotions. They're floating around, they're flying around all the time because so many people have them, and they're just looking for a target. So it's like the minute you go, oh, I'm sad, and you feed it, you have aligned and agreed with that point of view, with that feeling, and made it yours. You're inventing it. So this is a great way of getting out of the feelings that you make really significant. Like, I feel sad. What would make this an interesting point of view? I feel confused. What would make this an interesting point of view? Question changes everything. And then the other thing I want to talk to you today about, so that's Homeplay number 1. I think the last piece I wanted to speak to on interesting point of view was, oh yeah, this piece. So Gary says in here, a lot of people get irritated when you're doing interesting point of view. They want you to have a point of view so they can fight it. Now, this is something I see a lot too. Like, even my husband's like, you're so nonchalant about this. But it's like, I just don't have a point of view. But he wants me to have a point of view because he wants to have something to fight against with me, like to have some charge there, right? And so we've been talking in Access a lot in the last few weeks about these reflexive realities, where people have this point of view and then you have this reaction to their points of views, and all we're doing is feeding this trauma, drama, reaction reality. We're feeding the polarity. The only way out of these reactions is to be interesting point of view. So the more that you're interesting point of view, the more people might actually resist you, because they want you to have a point of view. They want to be able to fight you on it. So they want you to align and agree with it, or force you into something that they think is appropriate. So what do? You You just notice that you're getting irritated by people wanting to fight you, and just keep being interesting point of view. And then, like, Gary also talks about, like, recently he said, I didn't have a point of view about where to go to eat. And like at lunchtime, people would be like, where do you want to go for lunch? And he would say, I don't mind. And then everyone else would be like, I don't mind. And nobody would choose. So then he was like, I decided to take a point of view. And I said, okay, I'll go anywhere that there is Don Julio tequila with Grand Marnier. Like, so he took a point of view because it would create something, but he wasn't aligned and agreed and resisted and reacted and invested in the point of view. So what if, again, this goes back to what we talked about on day 2 and day 3, was what if its points of views aren't wrong and you can have a point of view? You just don't have to fight for the rightness of your point of view or defend it or try and implant other people with your points of views. So how many points of views have you taken that you have tried to implant other people with? And what if you what if you could be interesting point of view even with your own points of views, and know that you actually don't have to be invested in them? Like, if you take a point of view, you can also give that point of view up, and you can also create a different point of view. So that was that second piece. Third piece, oh yeah, this piece. Okay, so sometimes when I use the tools of access consciousness in my head, and especially when I do interesting point of view, I have an energy that invalidates me. This is a question from a participant in the class, okay? It's as if I don't believe myself. It's like something or someone is saying, I don't believe you. Is this an interesting point of view? Is this an entity, or is this beingness? And Gary's answer was, is this mine or somebody else's? So this is a great question, because how many times when you're doing interesting point of view, you have the point of view that this isn't working. When you hear that stuff, like, oh, this isn't working, or this energy that's trying to invalidate you, ask, what is this? Is this mine, someone else, or something else? If it's someone else, return to sender. If it's something else, it could be the art, or it could be an entity. So just ask, and if it's an entity, clear the entity. If it's the art desiring a contribution, gift it to the art. 99.9% of the things that are going on in your head don't belong to you. So 99.9% of the points of views you have floating around your head aren't even yours. You hear everyone else's points of views and you think they're yours. So how many points of views have you bought that are yours that are not even yours? So every time it comes into your head, you think because you hear it in your head, it's yours. What if you actually started to challenge the points of views you hear in your head, even if they seem very real? So until you recognize that you pick up other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions, you will always assume that they are yours. The majority of people in the world are willing to fall apart in a heartbeat. They're willing to judge themselves. You assume the judgment is yours. So most people are walking around judging themselves all day long. And then because you hear the judgment in your head, you think it's yours. You've got to come out of this and say, okay, interesting point of view, I have this judgment. So when that energy comes in to try and validate you, invalidate your knowing, invalidate your being, invalidate the space that you have, because judgment always is to take you out of being space, is to contract you back into this reality, is to contract your space. So the interesting point of view, I have this judgment. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. 99% of the time, the judgment isn't even yours. And when you get that, that's the key to the kingdom. So what would it be like? This is where, like, who does this belong to? And maybe we'll do like a 5-day who does this belong to challenge next, but who does this belong to? An interesting point of view go hand in hand. Because when you're willing to be interesting point of view, you'll get to the awareness that a lot of these points of views, I would say nearly all of them, are not even yours to begin with. It's you picking up on everybody else's points of views. And go out in nature, go to the beach, go out into the forest trees and notice, do you have points of views when you're out in nature? Are you more interesting point of view when you're in nature? How many of your points of views come up when you're around people? So how many of the points of views are not even yours? So guys, I really want to thank you for joining me for this journey. I actually got so much awareness from it. I kind of want to keep going. So I don't know, maybe we'll do Who Does It Belong to challenge next, but you also are invited to join me. I'm going to be doing 7 days of dancing with Allowance, and it's going to be moving with our bodies, but also we're going to be combining this tool of interesting point of view and the energy of Allowance and what it is to move with Allowance, and then also have that move out into your life. So first moving with the energy of Allowance with your body, and then starting to have it with the rest of your life, with your relationships, with your business, with your money, with everything in your reality. And truly, like, what would it be like to walk through the world with total allowance for you first, for your body, for your being, and then also to have it for others. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being such a gift, and thank you for supporting me and for gifting me your energy and watching these videos. I'm very grateful for everyone here who's choosing something different, and keep going. It keeps getting greater and greater and better and better. So bye for now.